Joining us now, the former Secret Service Special Agent Charles Marino. He is also the author of a new book titled Terrorists on the Border and in Our Country. Charles, thanks for being back with us tonight. So military assistance in the air, if it gets to that, what would it look like and how might it be different from what the former president is receiving now?
Well, the U.S. military plays an essential role in the overall security plans and apparatus for sitting presidents and vice presidents. So the question here is, if the former president is now receiving presidential level security, it's natural to assume that the military support will also come for him. And that will be in the form of the military through the White House Communications Agency supporting things like communications. You'll have military support and flight restricted zones, meaning that the airspace above the primary residence, Mar-a-Lago, and temporary sites where the former president is speaking would be closed and enforced by the military. But the big question here, and where it's really unprecedented, is regarding the secure military transport of the former president.
Yeah, so obviously Donald Trump has his own plane, right? And it's right. It's not a typical private plane. It's more like a plane you and I would see on a runway. Would he be traveling in that still? Or are we talking about potentially putting him on, you mentioned the president and the vice president, they fly on Air Force One and Air Force Two. Would it be involved with putting him on an actual government plane?
Yeah, and we'll have to go back and analyze the specific intelligence that they have regarding the threats specifically out of Iran. And if those correlate to his current transportation arrangements. But yeah, it seems to me as though the request is to actually fly on that U.S. fleet of military aircraft.
Would that be out of bounds in your view? Would that be out of bounds or appropriate as you see it?
Well, you know, I've been arguing during my appearances with you that the resources should match the threat level. And that's why I'm interested in that updated specific intelligence coming out of Iran that U.S. officials have obtained. If there is a reference in that intelligence, for example, as a hypothetical, a threat to the air travel of the former president, then I think it would be inbounds. So really, the resources that are brought need to match and exceed that current intelligence. And if it requires the use of military aircraft and support from the U.S. military, then I think that's something that the current administration would have to entertain.
Real quick, Charles, do you think Donald Trump has everything he needs right now?
Not everything. Not everything. I think the Secret Service is still struggling with the resources. They're spent. The budgets need to be increased. They need to get greater access to the equipment that they need, especially in the final push of this campaign. Things like ballistic glass can't be everywhere. And this is a new paradigm shift. They're going to have to be prepared for this going forward, because Congress will pass that bill that says both the Republican and Democratic nominees will be entitled to presidential protection.
Charles Marino, former Secret Service agent, joining us once again here on The Hill. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Blake. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.